The woman at the gas pump held her card against the reader for the second time. Nothing. She tried inserting it instead. The screen stayed blank for a moment, then showed a message she'd never seen before: unable to process. She pulled the card out, checked it, wiped it on her jeans, and tried again. Behind her, someone in a pickup truck waited with the engine running. She glanced at her phone. No alerts, no missed calls. The pump screen finally reset to its welcome message. She tried her second card. Same thing. The man in the truck turned off his engine. She walked inside to ask if she could pay cash, but realized she only had $6 in her wallet. The attendant was helping someone else who seemed to be having the same problem. She got back in her car and decided to try the station across the street. When she pulled up to that pump, someone was already standing there, staring at the card reader, not moving. She checked her phone again. Still nothing. No news. No explanation. Just a regular Tuesday morning that had quietly stopped working. At a coffee shop in Portland, the barista ran a card 3 times before asking if the customer had another form of payment. The customer tried a different card. It didn't work either. She had $2 in cash, enough for a drip coffee, but not the latte she'd ordered. Behind her, 5 people waited in line. The next customer's card also failed, and the next. The barista suggested maybe their reader was broken, but when they tried the backup terminal, nothing changed. People started checking their banking apps. The apps opened normally. Account balances appeared as expected. Everything looked fine on the screen. One man tried using his phone to pay. The transaction stalled, then timed out. Another woman said her card worked fine at the grocery store an hour ago. The line didn't grow angry or loud. People just stood there, trying to figure out what they were supposed to do. Some left. Some waited. Someone asked if the ATM across the street was working. No one knew yet. By mid-morning, the ATM outside a bank branch in Ohio had a line of 8 people. The first man in line had been standing there for 4 minutes, pressing buttons, waiting for the machine to respond. It accepted his card, asked for his PIN, showed his balance, but when he requested cash, the screen went blank and restarted. He tried again. Same result. He took his card and stepped aside. The next person tried. Same thing. The machine seemed to be working, but it wouldn't complete anything. Someone walked into the bank to ask what was happening. The teller said their system was running slow, but didn't know why. She suggested trying again in a few minutes. Outside, more people joined the line. No one spoke much. A few made phone calls. One woman searched online for outages, but found nothing specific. Just people in other states asking the same questions on social media. Someone said maybe it was a local issue. Someone else said their friend in another city had the same problem. The line grew longer. The machine kept restarting. A mother in a suburb of Phoenix stood in the checkout lane at a grocery store with a full cart. Her 2 kids sat in the basket, tired and impatient. When the cashier scanned the last item, the total came to $143. She tapped her card on the reader. It didn't respond. She tried inserting it. The register showed an error message. The cashier called the manager over. The manager restarted the terminal and asked her to try again. Nothing. The mother opened her wallet. She had $32 in cash. The cashier suggested running just the milk and bread first to see if the system would take a smaller charge. It didn't. Behind her, other lanes had stopped moving. Cashiers were restarting registers, calling managers, apologizing to customers. The mother asked if she could leave her groceries and come back later. The cashier said yes, but didn't know when the system would be fixed. The mother pushed her cart aside and left with her kids. The store didn't close. People kept trying. At a university campus in North Carolina, students began noticing they couldn't pay for lunch. The dining hall registers weren't accepting any cards. Some students had meal plans that worked through student IDs, so they were fine. Others, especially those paying out of pocket, stood holding trays with nowhere to go. One student offered to Venmo a friend in exchange for using their meal plan. When he opened the app, the payment wouldn't send. Another student tried Cash App. Same problem. The transfers would start, then hang, then fail. No error code, just a message to try again later. Someone joked that maybe everyone was getting free lunch. No one laughed. They weren't angry, just confused. A few left their trays and walked out. Others sat down anyway and ate, figuring they'd settle it later. One kid tried calling his bank. The automated system said all representatives were busy. Estimated wait time, 47 minutes. He hung up. Outside, someone checked Twitter. People across the country were reporting the same thing. Still no official statement, no news coverage, just thousands of people saying their money wasn't working. By early afternoon, a construction crew in Nevada stopped for lunch. They drove to a sandwich shop they always went to. When the first guy tried to pay, his card didn't work. He laughed and asked if someone else could cover him. The second guy's card failed too. So did the third. They stood at the counter looking at each other. One of them had $18 cash. They pooled what they had and bought 3 sandwiches to split between 6 people. Back at the site, the foreman made some calls. No one had answers. He told the crew to finish the day, but said he didn't know if they'd get paid on time this week if the system was still down. One guy said his rent was due tomorrow. Another said his account had money in it, he just couldn't access it. Someone suggested going to the bank and withdrawing cash in person. Someone else said the banks probably couldn't do that either if the system was down. No one got angry. They just ate their sandwiches and went back to work. One man checked his phone every few minutes. Still no news, just more people saying the same thing. The day kept going. A pharmacist in a town in Illinois stood behind the counter, looking at a customer who needed to pick up a prescription. The total was $68. The customer's insurance should have covered most of it, but the system wasn't connecting to the insurance network. The pharmacist tried processing it manually. The payment terminal wouldn't accept the card. The customer asked if she could come back tomorrow. The pharmacist said yes, but the prescription was for insulin, and the customer said she only had 2 days' worth left. They stood there, quiet. The pharmacist said she could give her a few days' worth and they'd figure out payment later. The customer thanked her and left. 3 more people came in with the same problem. Some payments went through partially, others didn't process at all. The pharmacist called the district manager. No one answered. She left a message. By late afternoon, she'd handed out 4 prescriptions without payment, just names and promises. She wrote everything down on paper, the way it used to be done. It felt strange. The system had always worked before. In a rural area in Montana, a man tried to buy fuel for his truck at a small gas station. He'd driven 20 minutes to get there. His card didn't work. He had $12 in his wallet. The pump needed $30. The attendant knew him, had seen him every week for years. She said he could fill up and pay tomorrow. He thanked her and did. As he pumped the gas, another truck pulled in. That driver's card didn't work either. He didn't have cash. The attendant made the same offer. He hesitated and accepted. By evening, she'd done this for 6 people. She wrote their names on a piece of paper taped to the register. No one knew if the system would be fixed by tomorrow. No one knew if people would come back to pay. She trusted they would. When her shift ended, she locked up and drove home. Her own card didn't work at the grocery store. She had enough food at home for a few days. She'd figure it out later. The lights in the store stayed on. The pump stayed ready. Everything looked normal. As the sun set, a couple sat in their apartment in Seattle, looking at their bank app. Their account showed $3,000. The number was right there on the screen, but they couldn't transfer it, couldn't withdraw it, couldn't spend it. They'd tried 5 different stores, 2 ATMs, and 3 payment apps. Nothing worked. They had $40 cash between them. Rent was due in 3 days. The man called the bank again. This time, after an hour on hold, someone answered. The representative said they were aware of the issue and working on it. No timeline, no explanation, just working on it. The man asked what they were supposed to do in the meantime. The representative apologized and said to check back tomorrow. They hung up. The woman searched online for news. A few local outlets had started reporting scattered outages, but no major coverage, no emergency broadcasts, no government statements, just a quiet failure spreading across the country while people waited in their homes, staring at numbers on screens that meant nothing anymore. They ordered pizza. The delivery driver said he'd take cash only. When the day ended, nothing had been fixed. People went to sleep not knowing if their money would work in the morning. Some had enough cash to get by, others didn't. The gas stations that stayed open started accepting IOUs. Some stores closed early. Others kept trying, restarting registers over and over, hoping something would change. No one knew what had caused it. No one knew how long it would last. In apartments and houses across the country, people sat with their phones, refreshing news sites that had nothing new to say. The money was still there. It hadn't disappeared. The balances hadn't changed. It just couldn't move. Somewhere, someone would eventually explain what happened. Technicians would fix whatever broke. Systems would come back online. But that night, none of that had happened yet. The day just ended the way it had gone. Quiet, unresolved, and waiting. People turned off their lights and tried to sleep, knowing that tomorrow they'd wake up and try their cards again, hoping this time they'd work.